It's week 5 of the NHL season, and both teams and players are chasing history. We have Ovechkin turning back the clock to chase down the Great One's record.
Dylan Strome feeding Ovechkin. He scores! The Great A back on the board!
And we have a Winnipeg team that is showing a level of dominance to start the season that the NHL has never seen.
Ehlers has cruised to the slot area, shoots it, scores!
And of course, while all this is going on, the drama and emotions of the regular season have begun to jump to another level. The entertainment did not stop. So here's what really happened in week 5 of the NHL season. Sunday, Hurricane Hell. The team who continues to be a wagon that no one talks about is the Carolina Hurricanes. And Sunday, they have a Caps team who have caught everyone by surprise. A big reason why is because the grade 8 Alex Ovechkin has seemingly found the fountain of youth on his pursuit for Gretzky's goal record. And in this one, he gets one step closer.
He and Ovechkin. Now Ovechkin takes it up, he scores!
That is his 7th of the year, making it look very possible that he somehow breaks Gretzky's record this season, as he's now on a 52-goal pace. However, this Canes team has been just dominating, and they score 3 straight to beat the Caps, and Marty Necas has been red hot since dyeing his hair like Slim Shady. But he's probably crushing Mon Spaghetti before the games, and that's why he was able to put up 3 points in this win. The other all-Metro matchup was the old rivalry between the Rangers and the Islanders. And if you bet a team from New York to win this game, congratulations, you were right. If you also guessed Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider combining on this gross tic-tac-toe play for the shorty, you'd be right too. Of course, this wouldn't be a Rangers game without Shesterkin standing on his teeth. He stops 35 of 37 to keep his payday nice and juicy, and the Rangers improve to 8-2-1. Pretty damn good, but not to the level of the Jets. Taking on Tampa and falling behind 2 in the first, Winnipeg would tie it back up as both teams traded blows all the way until they were tied at 4. Then we got a little bit of nasty work here from Kucherov. He takes a nasty run at Kyle Connor from behind. His noggin bounces off of Chernak's helmet on the way down, and the next day he's sporting a shiner of a black eye as a trophy. However, Kyle Connor is the secret assassin, and if you screw with him, you're going to pay. He sets up the eventual game-winning goal to Dylan Sandberg as the Jets move to 11-1 on the season. Shout out to Nikolai Ehlers as well, who gets the empty netter and became the highest scoring Danish player in NHL history. The regular season Jets are a different animal as they improved to 19-1 in their last 20 regular season games. That's just insane. Keeping it in Canada, let's look at the Leafs, who seem every week to find the most Leafy way to lose a hockey game. We find ourselves in overtime in this one, and after goals from Ryan Hartman and William Nylander, it looks like Toronto's going to have a possible breakaway, but Max Domi sends a golf chip to try and win a foot race, but my guy isn't familiar with the wizardry of Jared Spurgeon. He makes an incredible heads-up play to swing it back up ice to Boldy to catch the Leafs on a change, and good night Jim Kite as the Wild take it in OT. That is the Wild's 3rd straight win. Meanwhile, up in Boston, the drama doesn't stop even when they do win a hockey game. They get a 2-0 shutout against the Kraken, but the main headline was David Pastrnak being benched for the entirety of the 3rd period. Now, there was a brutal turnover that contributed to that decision, but Pasta came out and took accountability in the media. Meanwhile, Jim Montgomery means business this year, and he ain't handling any of his top dogs with some TLC. Speaking of the top dogs, Chicago's top dog in Bedard was an apple tree all night long as he picked up 3 assists against the Ducks. The Blackhawks win 3 of their last 4, and it's important that the young core led by Bedard shows some signs of improvement, even if they do suck as a whole this year. The final game saw the McDavid-less Oilers travel to Calgary for the Battle of Alberta. Life without McDavid is no bueno for anyone, but Oilers fans feel damn lucky that they still got the $112 million man in Leon Draisaitl. He has turned it up a notch with McInjured being out of the lineup as he leads the Oilers to a solid 4-2 win while picking up a goal and 2 assists. Monday, shutout hockey. Ah yes, our favorite night of the week, where all the games are on Amazon Prime, and I'm once again reminded how much money I gotta drop to just watch a goddamn hockey game around here. Lucky for everyone, both games ended in a 3-0 shutout. The Kings and Preds did make Monday Night Fight Night as both Luke Shen and Tanner Jeannot go at it, and then Ryan O'Reilly steps in on Burroughs after a hit he doesn't like on his teammate. If only Nashville could score as frequently as they start fights, because the Preds have been struggling to score goals this season. They have the 26th ranked offense in terms of goals for in the NHL, and to boot, they've been scored on first in 9 of their 12 games. All of that makes it a recipe for a brutal start to the season after really high expectations. Maybe just me, but I'm starting to sense a team trip to the Vegas Sphere if they don't turn things around. The only other game was the Oilers hosting the Devils, and the real star in this one was Jake Allen. This guy stopped all 31 shots he faced and has proven to be a great fit as backup so far for the Devils. Timo Meier also joins in as the sick puppy out there, scoring a nifty little goal on Picard in a Devils 3-0 win. And with that, the Devils lead the Metro at the end of Monday. Tuesday ticked off Torts. A full plate of hockey on Tuesday with 11 games, and it started with the barn burner in Carolina. This one was tied up at 1 entering the second, but the Hurricanes took a 3-1 lead with a goal from Eric Robinson and Jordan Martinook. But Philly refuses to go away, and they tie it up at 3 early with this goal from Morgan Frost. Swing and a miss, he struck him out. Doesn't matter though, because the puck is in the net. But ladies and gentlemen, with 30 seconds left, will the real Slim Shady please stand up?
He's got real estate, lets the shot go! Sam pulls up, rebound, Natchez, he scores!
With 30 seconds left on the clock, Natchez buries to stay hot, and the Hurricanes take another one to go 9-2-0 on the season. The Flyers fall to 4-8-2, and afterwards, we got ticked off Torts in the presser with one-word answers.
You said this morning you wanted to see progress in certain areas. Did you see enough of that tonight?
No.
You'd think Torts was a Bruins fan because any Boston fan watching them face the Leafs on Tuesday was not happy. We got to see this one live in the morgue that is Scotiabank Arena. Look at my brother here thinking this is a picture. Wake up, buddy. Come on. At least the Leafs power play was awake as they score a whopping 3 power play goals in this one. Their power play was dead last in the league, but aside from the usual chippiness and physicality of Bruins Leafs goalie Anthony Stolarz was incredible in this one. He stops all 29 shots for the shutout, and it may be election night, but Leaf Nation beat the Bruins in a meaningless regular season game, which means that the parade is, of course, back on. Meanwhile, an all-Canadian matchup between the Flames and the Habs saw Matt Coronado put on a show. First, he ties the game for Calgary in the dying minutes, and then he lasers one just 6 seconds into OT. Frickin' laser beams from the 21-year-old means that the Habs dropped their 4th in a row. Now let's check in on the Bermuda Triangle of Mid with 2 of 3 teams in action between Buffalo and Ottawa. The Sens had their best start to the season since 2016-2017. But when you're stuck in the Bermuda Triangle of Mid in the Atlantic with the Sabres and Red Wings, it's something supernatural that pulls you back in. It's just fitting that it happens to be the Sabres to hand them their 4th straight loss on the road. It means that both these teams maintain a 500 or below record to restore balance in the universe. Now, in this balanced universe, Crosby is still scoring goals while the Penguins lose games. This time, the Islanders show some scoring life to come down from 3-1 in the third, and Bo Horvat gets the shootout winner for a much-needed extra point for the Islanders. The team that doesn't need any extra points is the Jets. 11-1 going up against the Utah Hockey Club meant that it was time for Connor Hellebuck to shut the door. The Jets pot 3 in the shutout and continued their utter dominant run of the NHL. Individually, though, Kucherov is still dominating by picking up 2 assists against the Blues. But there was a pretty scary and weird moment in this one as Blues forward Dylan Holloway takes a puck to the neck, plays literally an entire shift as if nothing happened, and then gets to the bench and requires some medical attention. Eventually, he had to be stretchered off, and it was just a scary and weird moment. And afterwards, he went to the hospital and was deemed okay. But the Blues were able to rally for him and take this game 3-2 over the Lightning. The weirdness around the league didn't stop there, though, as watch this shift between Colorado and Seattle. Yanni Gourde tees one up and misses the net by a mile. Lehkonen waits for the puck to go all the way around to him for Colorado to gain the zone. 40 seconds later, Rantanen scores. Seattle challenges for offside, which Lehkonen was by a mile. But then they overturned the challenge because Yanni Gourde slap shot missed the net. That means that Seattle technically brought it back into their own end, which also means that Lehkonen never had to clear the zone. Therefore, it ends up being a good goal anyways. If you have a headache after that, good, so do I. Join the party, we're in this together. That didn't faze the dog Nathan MacKinnon though, as he gets 5 assists and moves into the league lead in scoring in a 6-3 Avs win. The Pacific Division also got a little tighter as both the Canucks and Kings copy each other with a 5-1 win over the Ducks and Wild to extend both of their win streaks to 2. They are going to need those points because finally, Macklin Celebrini returns to the lineup for San Jose after missing weeks with an injury. However, the Sharks' real hero was Vitek Vanacek. He makes 49 saves in this one, my goodness, to bring San Jose to OT, and then Wennberg would seal the deal.
Wennberg to the net. Wennberg scores!
The Sharks are 4-6 in their last 10 as they win to cap off a busy Tuesday night. Wednesday, Predator problems. The Nashville Predators and their players got a nice wake-up call on Wednesday morning after GM Barry Trotz threatened to rebuild the team if they didn't start winning games. Considering they just signed Stamkos, Marchessault, and Shea to longer-term deals, and they're all in their 30s, that makes it incredibly hard to do. But hey, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out against Ovi and the Caps. Trott's comments may have lit a little bit of a fire under the ass of the Preds as they jump out to a 1-zip lead, but the Caps score 2 straight. Now, as a guy who just committed to the organization for 3 years, Stamkos does his job to make sure that rebuild doesn't happen by potting one to tie it up. But right now, the grade 8 is just feeling it. He buries the game winner to give him 8 goals and 13 points in 9 games as the Preds lose another one and are tied for dead last in the league. Next, we had the old versus the new with Patrick Kane versus Connor Bedard. And the last time these two teams met, there was a cinematic finish.
Patrick Kane in Chicago! Oh my God!
This time around, though, neither Kane or Bedard had too much of an impact on the game. Instead, it was the captain Dylan Larkin and Alex DeBrincat both getting on the board, while Cam Talbot stops 28 of 29 in a 4-1 victory for Detroit. And what was a seemingly quiet night in the NHL, some big news was that we had the return of Connor McDavid. He was supposed to miss 2 to 3 weeks with an ankle injury, but he only ended up missing 10 days. Only hockey players can pull that off. However, if I didn't tell you that he'd come back, you'd probably think that McDavid was still out of the lineup in this game. Both he and Draisaitl were nowhere to be found on the stat sheet as the Golden Knights shut them down completely. Jack Eichel embarrasses Stuart Skinner, and Noah Hanifin double dips the chip.
Excuse me? You double dipped the chip?
To get a late one in the final minute of the third to take the lead. The Oilers fumble the bag at getting the extra point, and they got some problem solving to do, while the Knights regain first in the Pacific and continue to look like a solid contender coming out of the West. Thursday, rising star. With the Senators and Islanders teeing things up, Ottawa at 6-6 had a chance to go above 500, but we know how things work around here. The Bermuda Triangle of Mid simply won't allow that. And the team that pulls them back into the depths of hell are the Islanders, who are a team who can't score and are missing their 2 best offensive weapons in Duclair and Barzal. However, they found a way to jump out to a 3-0 lead. The Sens did have some pushback and scored twice late to make things interesting, but Bo Horvat gets the empty netter for the Islanders and they get back to 500 hockey. Meanwhile, Sens fans and the hype for their team at the beginning of every season is proven to be the biggest hoax in the NHL. Now let's stay within the Bermuda Triangle and look at the Sabres. They got a tough matchup against the Rangers and Igor Shesterkin, who's been playing like a man possessed. There were whispers of an extension looming that were rumored around the $11 to $12 million range per year prior to the game. However, all that money talk must have thrown Igor off because the Sabres lay the smackdown on the Rangers and score 5 goals on 7 shots to earn him the yank. Rangers management is a little bit happy that they can shave off a few thousand, but in the end, it won't make much of a difference. The guy is still going to get paid. Down in Florida, the Panthers welcome the struggling Predators, and things are going from bad to worse. Sam Reinhart goes around the world for perhaps the slowest wraparound goal I've ever seen, and the Panthers steamroll the Preds 6-2 to keep on rolling. The Preds are now dead last, and even the Sharks are ahead of them. The Wild took care of them relatively easy, but Macklin Celebrini scored twice, including this beauty no-look goal on Marc-Andre Fleury.
The Stanley Cup, of course. There's a shot by Celebrini, and he scored!
That right there is the youngest player in the NHL scoring on the oldest player in the NHL. Now, keeping it within California, the Kings were hosting the Canucks in a scary scene as Brock Besser takes a hit up high from Tanner Jeannot in the first period. Besser would have to leave the game, and Jeannot would be assessed a match penalty. Losing Besser is a tough blow for the Canucks, but they win this one with Garland, DeBrusk, Hughes, and Miller all scoring to bag their 3rd straight win. From one Hughes brother to another, Jack is out here carving through the Habs and setting up Jesper Bratatouille for an easy setup. He puts up 3 points, pretends to give a shit by fake signing the camera at the end of the game, and says see you later. The Habs are still a defensive mess, and the exciting shine that followed this team heading into the season has very much faded. What hasn't faded is the disappointment in Pittsburgh. They run into a Hurricanes team who, outside of maybe the Jets, have looked like the most impressive team in the league. The Canes win big 5-1 and embarrass the Penguins to win their 8th straight game in a row. The Hurricanes are officially in wagon status, and Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins continue to be stuck in no man's land. Now, how about this goal from Kucherov? Buddy just always looks like he's in a rocking chair out there making guys look silly, and here he snatches Ristolainen's soul on the cross-up and then has Fedotov going out for a swim to complete the second wraparound of the night. If only Philly had a young Russian winger who could do the same dressed in that game. Yep, that's right. Torts gave Matvei Michkov the healthy scratch treatment despite having 10 points in 13 games. For a team that has trouble scoring, that's a head-scratcher. But Philly still pulled it off with a 2-1 win in the shootout. Now let's check in on Boston, who aren't accustomed to slow starts to the season, and after blowing a 3-1 lead to Calgary, you just know things could get interesting. However, when things get tough, that's when the true captains show up.
Lindholm closes, steals, Marchand shoots, won't the save, they score!
Despite all the noise, Boston has won 3 of their last 4. That must sound cute for Jets fans to hear, as Connor Hellebuyck has officially transformed into the brick wall from Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. If you've never played that game, do yourself a favor. Hellebuyck stops all 35 shots against the NHL's hottest weapons in the Nate Dogg and Cale Makar, and the Jets become just the second team in NHL history to begin the season with 13 wins in their first 14 games. They are in a league of their own, and that's also a league reserved for real names, so that means the Utah Hockey Club isn't allowed. But when you catch a St. Louis team without their mojo, losing 6 of their last 7, and get a game-winning goal from your young stud in Dylan Guenther, you're on the right path. The right path is one that's cloudy right now for the Chicago Blackhawks. Lately, they've played well, winning 3 of their last 5, but going up against the Stars, it's a mismatch. Sam Steal Your Girl and Tyler Seguin notch goals, while the rookie with the great name in Logan Stankoven grabs the empty netter to seal the win and close up Thursday. Friday, Sid versus Ovi. It's 2024, and these guys are well into their late 30s, and Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin are still leading their teams with their play. Tonight they face off for the 70th time in their careers. That being said, it would be both goalies in this one that would steal the show. Lindgren made a few monster saves, while Blomqvist for the Penguins had to face several grade A chances from Ovi and held him off the score sheet for the first time in 5 games. Despite having the best goal scorer from this generation and most of his damage coming from his office on the power play, the Caps went 0 for 3 and now own the NHL's worst power play, going 2 for their last 40. On the flip side, the Penguins get their game winner from their own Russian weapon in Evgeny Malkin and take it 4-2. Now, despite the frustrating start for the Pens, they sit only 1 point out of a playoff spot. The same goes for Detroit, who visits the Leafs without Austin Matthews for the second straight game. The Leafs playing better without their best player is just another conspiracy theory for their fans to hop on. But their Jekyll and Hyde style continued in this game as it showed its colors on the power play. They score another 2 goals with the man advantage and are all of a sudden hot after having a power play that made you want to claw your eyes out while watching it. To add to the win, Anthony Stolar says, "Hey ma, look what I found," and instantly becomes beloved by stopping a puck with his bare hand. Fans absolutely love it. Joseph Woll is having a laugh on the bench because of it, and all is well in Leaf Nation with a 3-1 win. Now, I don't want to freak anyone out, but Vegas, prior to their game against Seattle, announced that Mark Stone would be day-to-day with a lower body injury. I know what all of you are thinking, but he's not on the injured reserve. He's just day-to-day. I'm sure they're going to find a way to add that $10 million superstar at the deadline, but they're cooking something up as we speak. On a serious note, I do hope Mark Stone is okay and remains healthy, since he's having a monster year and may even get consideration from Team Canada. On top of that, Vegas just isn't the same team without their captain in the lineup. Brandon Tanev gets 2 for Seattle, and McCann finishes it in OT for a 4-3 Kraken win. Hey, remember what I said about the Hurricanes a few minutes ago? Well, let's throw the Wild in that conversation as well. Easily the biggest surprise in a good way so far this season is the Wild, and it's all being led by Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov. He puts up 2 goals and an assist in a 5-2 win over the Ducks and officially becomes the NHL's leading scorer. I can't remember the last time the Wild had that, and his play has got them 10-2-2 on the season, which is good for second in the NHL. That means you can tell all your friends that the Wild are officially in wagon status to end Friday. Saturday, NHL history. It seems like history is a theme early this season, and smack dab in the middle of all of it is the Winnipeg Jets. Welcoming another juggernaut in the Stars, the Jets had a chance to become the first team in NHL history to record 14 wins in their first 15 games. People still aren't sold on the Jets, and likely won't be unless they have a deep run. But when they handle a team like Dallas the way they did in this game, it's not hard to consider them the real deal. They put up 4 goals on Ottinger, and Jets fans remain savage by chanting US backup to the Dallas goalie. Of course, that's because their guy in Connor Hellebuck seems to be a lock for the starter in the Four Nations tournament coming up. He stops 32 of 33, both captains drop the gloves, and the Jets make NHL history in a dominant win over the other powerhouse in the West. They are looking scary. Now don't worry, I didn't skip Buffalo versus Calgary, even if you did. But all you need to know is that the Sabres blew a 2-goal lead, and JJ Peterka saves their ass by winning it in a shootout as the lone goal and making Calgary's comeback fall short. Also, with it being a Saturday, there's nothing quite like Leafs versus Habs, even if one team royally stinks. And right now, the Habs youth is showing. The Leafs are without Matthews again, but it don't matter because the power play is red hot again, scoring twice in this one for the second game in a row. If you try and figure out the Toronto Maple Leafs, you'll go crazy. Marner extends his point streak to 8 games, which isn't bad for a guy who Leaf fans wanted exiled pretty much all of the offseason. The Habs lose their 6th in a row, and it's getting ugly. You could say the same for Detroit, who aren't as bad, but based on expectations, have been pretty much miserable. Unfortunately, they run into 2012 Jonathan Quick. He stops all 37 pucks his way, and the Rangers shut him out 4-0 as the belief in the Yzer plan continues to waver. Now, I've had enough. It's time we get a piss test on Ovi because this man is on fire at 39. Not 1, but 2 goals in this beatdown against the Blues, and he's got 10 goals in 14 games to now being 32 away from making history and breaking Gretzky's record. It's like he took last year off for fun, and now he's back to scoring at the 40 and 50 goal pace that he usually does. How about this stop here from Jordan Binnington? Getting the Save of the Year candidate in an 8-1 beatdown is some nasty work, especially because it looked like for most of the night, he probably couldn't even stop a beach ball. Speaking of beaches, the Panthers are enjoying the nice weather down in Florida as they show up to the arena in robes, and they find themselves in a shootout against the Flyers. That meant we got to see a little bit of Barkov magic as he pulls out the one-handed shovel like he's holding a mini stick. What a sick joke that is to pull that off on another grown man. Evan Rodriguez gets the shootout winner, and Florida gets their 7th straight victory. It should be no surprise to anyone, but it certainly looks like the East will once again run through them. Shifting to Boston, we had the return of Linus Ullmark. He gets a nice tribute from the team and gets to catch up with his old buddy Swayman, but his workload was basically like he had the night off. Boston only put up 16 shots and had 0 shots in the entirety of the third period. Somehow the game still ended up in overtime where Captain Tkachuk would play hero.
Odd man chance, Tkachuk shoots, he scores! Tkachuk goes blocker side!
Overtime was also needed between the Devils and the Islanders, but how we got there was a bit more interesting. Shocker, the Islanders had a 3-1 lead and blow it in less than 4 minutes late in the third. So, Jack Hughes reminds everyone that people pay to watch him play.
Here he goes, a chance to win it! Scores!
Down in Nashville, the good news is that it probably can't get much worse than it is right now. They've lost 5 of their last 6, and Philip Forsberg is absolutely sick of it. He gets on the board early and then goes coast to coast. How are ya? See you later to put the game out of the reach versus Utah, and the Preds get a much needed win. A team that battled themselves out of a similar situation in the first few games were the Avs. However, still being below 500 while going up against the Canes is a tough task. Yet, I've never seen a team that can just explode offensively like this Colorado Avalanche team. They score 5 goals in the second period, including this piss missile from Cale Makar, and all the big dogs go off. McKinnon and Rantanen combine for 7 points as the Avs offense simply overwhelmed Carolina to win 6-4. The finishing touch on Saturday meant the rematch of the second round of last season between the Canucks and Oilers. 3 straight goals from Edmonton had this one looking hopeless for Vancouver early, but they got 2 quick ones to get them right back in it. Then the tilt kicked in and Edmonton pulled away after Lankinen let in a few softies, only to get yanked in the third period. McDavid puts up a neat 3 points. And if you want to hear a stat that makes you sick, he is now ranked 100th all-time on the NHL scoring list, moving past Phil the Thrill at 993 points. Maybe the Canucks should sign Phil Kessel as they get caved 7-3. So, what did you think of week 5? Who pissed you off? Who surprised you? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you want to check out some of our more in-depth breakdowns from this past week, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can get weekly recaps every single Sunday.